kindergarten at William Beans Elementary School. I think you were talking about me when you got others, not me. Dr. Hyde was really nice. On our Friday off, he Skyped with me, answered a lot of questions that we had, so thank you. It was really great.
I will not rate you, absolutely.
It's not about you, it's okay. Anyway, I had the pleasure of working with a team of MBA students from Indiana University on our presentation, on our innovation, which is a leadership development learning series for principals in Prince George's County. As the innovation project was described to us in November, the topic was, the task was to attack a facet of the achievement gap as it exists in Prince George's County. And we struggled with this. We did not want to attack a facet of the achievement gap. We wanted to attack the achievement gap at its core. And we feel that our innovation does this because it's not another PD for principals. We don't know anything about how to teach reading to principals, and we don't know anything about how to teach them how to do math. But what we have discovered through collaborations is that our innovation project is about who they are as leaders, who you are as a leader. What do you believe? What do you believe about people? What do you believe that our students are capable of? And it's about channeling those beliefs and really working with those to establish higher school culture and a really invigorating school culture. So what was the core? We did a lot of research. And almost all the studies pointed to the core issue. The number one factor in driving higher academic achievement in schools was school culture. And this is great. How do we get this? And everybody wants this. The business sector wants this. The not-for-profit sector wants this. The education system wants this. So how do we get this? Well, we partnered with Marian University in Indianapolis in their new principal development program. And they say, yeah, you can have it. There are specific behaviors and beliefs that are characteristic of a high-performing, high-achieving culture, and those can be taught. You can learn those. So our development program is essentially how to learn the attitudes and behaviors that are characteristic of these cultures and how to bring them to your school, how to internalize them and express them and have our schools express them. It's critical right now. We're in budget cuts, we're being furloughed, school culture can get kind of low. And what's good to know about this is that teacher burnout and teacher turnover was not caused by higher paying jobs somewhere else. It was caused by poor culture at schools. And this is good because we can change that. We can't always get more money, but we can always determine our school culture. And one of the very interesting things we kind of stumbled upon in doing our research was a book called Drive by Daniel Pink, and it's about what motivates us. And it's not money. It's autonomy, mastery, purpose. Obviously, we don't teach for money. We teach because there's a purpose. We believe in our children. We believe in what we're creating, the people we are creating, a holistic method. We're not just teaching them numbers and letters. We're teaching them and molding them. Who are you? What do you believe? How do we treat people? How do we achieve our goals in life? And that's awesome, because money can't buy you that. But this leadership program is all about how to develop those things. So, great. Still, how do we get that? Well, we started to look at people who do it really well. And we, again, stumbled upon Frances Hesselbein. Frances Hesselbein was voted the top CEO in the country by Business Week. She's on the leadership chair at West Point, first non-general to ever serve, and she was the CEO of the Girl Scouts of America. And she would teach us, this is one of her favorite sayings, be careful of your thoughts, for they become your actions. Be careful of your actions, for they become your destiny. So she would teach us that leadership is not about, like, I say this, you do this, here's a table of how to be a good leader. No, it's about who you are. It's about your thoughts, what you believe about people. And so this all drives come back to the point, what do we believe about our kids? What do we believe about our students? What do we believe about ourselves? How do we treat people? What do I believe about my teachers? And what's unique about our development program, we believe, is that it allows principals the time, the space, and the support to examine and develop their beliefs surrounding leadership and all these other things in hopes of leading their schools to change. So, essentially, this is a brief overview of our leadership program. It's obviously voluntary involvement for principals. It would start with an opt-in process in the first quarter, possibly in August, where the initial overview would be given and explained to them that it would be a very in-depth analysis for them. It's a lot of introspection. Sorry, I was looking at the time in the back. It's a lot of introspection. It's going to be a lot of personal development throughout the year, developing their personal philosophy of leadership and bringing it back to their school, sharing with their school, getting their school's thoughts. You know, what do you guys think? What do you believe? So we can come up with a culture together. We can come up with a mission statement. You know, you don't need buy-in. You don't have to sell your mission statement if you help me create it. You already bought it. You know, we did this together. This is how we build a collective capacity at our schools. We do it together. So this is what they, would be doing at the workshops. How do I start that? How do I lead that? The dual track philosophy. The first track would be the individual principals going to the workshops, and engaging in activities, engaging with the coaches, engaging with the literature, with each other. And in between the workshops, we would set up a peer coaching program so they could continue the support at their schools, engage with other principals. What did you think about that? How did you do it? And then asking those reflective questions that sometimes we forget to ask because you're so caught up in it. I forget with my teaching, and my PD asks me, oh, well, why'd you do that? How'd you think that went? Asking those kinds of questions. And then the second track would be translating those leadership behaviors to drive culture at their schools. As measurements of the program, we would start at the beginning, middle, and end with culture audits at the schools. Eventually, over the years, see how it impacts student achievement, and post-workshop evaluations for the principals actually in the workshops. As you can see, in quarter one is the introduction and opt-in process. The workshops that the principals would be attending on the top, and how it would translate into school culture from the bottom. So, workshop number one, the theme is essentially model the way, which is after the opt-in process for those who want to continue. Model the way, and that's defining what you believe about people, defining those behaviors and characteristics and beliefs, and taking it back to school to establish the school core values. What do we as a school believe? What is important? How are we going to show that? Through every single interaction with everybody in this building. And it goes on through the second, third, and fourth quarters. And eventually, the final culmination that principals will be working on is a personal philosophy of leadership, to sort of develop them as a leader, as a whole person, to help develop our students and how to drive student achievement, essentially, in a holistic process. A lot of these things, we collaborated with Dr. Douglas Ostrom, who's an MBA professor at Indiana University, and he works with Marian University on their program, and he is the owner of Turning Point Associates, which is a leadership consulting firm in Indianapolis. And a lot of these actually came from the book The Challenge of Leadership by Posner, I think is how you say it. I read it. It was a tough read. The MBA students did it, but it's chock full of good ideas. It's amazing. And we actually read it because a lot of the principal surveys indicated that this was someone who was, these two gentlemen were excellent resources on collaborative leadership, and they would like to learn more about this. So that's why I picked up the book. Obviously, there's a monetary investment involved. We whittled it down, speaker fees, transportation, lodging, books, paper, to approximately $700 per principal. If we guesstimate that about 50 principals would join the first session, ideally, that would impact 50 schools, approximately 2,500 teachers, and ultimately about 20,000 students. That's a lot of culture change. That's a lot of student achievement. So we can start learning leadership right now. What is leadership? Well, there's a lot of definitions out there, but the one that we're focused on is the one, leadership is building collective capacity to achieve results that matter. Collective capacity to achieve results that matter. Results that matter to our students, to our parents, to our teachers, to our communities. We can't afford to let this slip through the cracks. This is ultimately what matters. If we're going to change the destiny of our students, we're going to change the destiny of Prince George's County, it needs to start with building a collaborative culture. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Do you think all leaders have the capacity to be cajoled toward, to be developed into this type of leader?
Yes. I think everybody can. I think it, from my experience, I sat in on a lot of the Marian College leadership sessions. I'm from Indianapolis. And from what I noticed, it sometimes takes some turnaround time. Like they did some role plays about, how would you interact with teachers in different situations, and a lot of started out, this is my school, this is my teacher, this is my classroom, and this is how it's going to run. And as a teacher, I was like, oh my God, like I would just die. I'd be like, okay, you're doing it right. But throughout the process, and they kind of thought about like, well, how is this effective? Like, what do you believe about this teacher? This as a person, what do you think? And ultimately, everyone I've interacted with in the county is a very good person. We wouldn't be here if we didn't think that, yeah, you can do this. I wouldn't hire you if you couldn't. I think that eventually, yeah, you can. You can come to believe in this. And one of the interesting things that sort of we've been playing with is the visual of a 500-person school. And if you have one powerful person, principal, for instance, and 499 people who are all dependent on him, what if he's sick? But then no one knows the answers. But if we have one person who spends all day, every day, trying to make those 499 people as powerful as they can be, that's quite school. So yeah, I fully believe in the capacity of every person to do this.
Okay, so now I'm understanding. So I thought it was about the leadership development, but we're talking about more shared leadership across a group of individuals.
Collaborative leadership development.
Collaborative leadership.
Yeah. How do we get this? How do I ask, what do you think?
Were you able to see examples of how the strategies in order to do this was transferred from the theoretical to actual practice?
A couple times. I went to a couple schools, and the people in the Marion program are a couple of already are principals and are going through this, and most of them are deans or teachers, people getting their master's and going to do it. And so one interesting exercise was they did a pick-up sticks exercise, and they were in groups, and then they took it back to their schools and did it, and it was a very good visual. But essentially, you have one person who has the picture of what you're making, and everyone else in the group is blindfolded. And then they're describing, pick up the red one. The blindfolded people are like, oh, that's not very helpful. And no one can do it in the allotted time. Great. And so, the idea being is that, we need to share the power. Take off the blindfold so everyone can see it. And it was it was fascinating to watch them take it back to their schools and watch all the teachers do this and watch the principal, lead it, who I think before they had some clashes with, it sounded like what he had told me. And it really, it brought the staff together a lot, and it opened a lot of pathways to communication. So yeah, it started when we're talking, and it got everyone really excited about, what the possibilities were. So it was really exciting.
So final question for me and some others. In terms of the individual, so you use that example, 400, one leader.
Uh-huh.
And if that one leader is not able to engender in the 400 that shared leadership, then when is it time to address the leader? Address the leader, let's say, when is it time to replace the leader?
Well, I think it's an issue of can't versus won't. If someone won't do this, I suppose, also from the reads, but also in my classroom, if they won't do this, but they can. It's working with that. It's understanding where you're coming from. What's going on? How can I help you? What do you think about this? Where are we breaking down? If it's can't, maybe this isn't meshing. And I think everyone, my kids know when something's not meshing. So, I don't know, I don't want to say this, but I'm not in charge. I can't rely on
But I was interested in your opinion of it and looking at and studying it across with the program. And so that was helpful. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Last question.
Last question.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.